Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Issues of Faith. We have with us Ben Trueblood, Director of Student Ministry at Lifeway, talking about Within Reach, a new book that's out, where it's discussing students who leave the church. How do we keep them in the church? And what's really at stake here? When we're talking this discussion, what's the essence of it?
Well, I think one is that we've seen over time, and this kind of reinforces the idea and thought that Protestant churches are shrinking from within. And so, to a very real sense, the future of the church is at stake. And then when I think even more than church attendance is people living on mission according to what the Bible teaches us, and people going out and sharing the good news, and all of those things are connected to people walking away from their faith.
And when you start talking about those students, and what you said, 66% of high school kids, after they leave the church, I guess are leaving the church. They're not coming back to a church in college or, in whatever they do after high school.
That's right.
And so that's big. We're trying to reach that group, bring them back in. What are some of the things in that group that stayed, in the 30% or so that stayed, that you see makes them stay? Aside, you talked about mentorship and that kind of thing. What are some of the other things?
Right behind mentorship was a regular intake of Scripture, of those teenagers in high school learning how to study the Bible for themselves, learning a consistent discipline of Bible reading. That was the number 2 indicator of them staying connected. So one of the phrases that we like to use is, the Bible doesn't feel awkward in their hands. Because when somebody first begins to read the Bible, it can be awkward. It can feel awkward. It can be hard to understand. Well, those teenage years are key in helping them understand and grow in the spiritual discipline of taking in Scripture, memorizing it, reading it, and even connecting with others and talking about what they're learning from Scripture. So that was another key indicator. And then right behind that is the importance of the church helping them guide their decisions in life. So when a student recognizes, hey, I want the people at this church to help guide my decisions, then when they go to college, that's going to be something that, or in the military, or in the things that we've talked about, when they enter those years, that's going to be something that pulls them to be connected to another local church.
Did you get a sense of, and this would be tough, but I wonder, are bigger churches more effective at maybe keeping kids going to church, or smaller churches more effective? Do you get a sense of that? Maybe the bigger church, you have an opportunity to meet more people and interact with more people. A smaller church might be a little more intimate. Is there a sense of one works more than another?
I think in different ways. So I think in the smaller church environment, the spiritual mentoring piece, you're able to go a lot deeper into relationship perhaps with pastors from the church. The other side of that, though, is in a larger church environment, you're really able to expose those teenagers to a wider range of spiritual mentors, of people where those types of relationships can take root and form. And then the key thing I would say too is the other generations of the church are an important factor to consider, even in the size question. Where are the other generations coming from? Is my church a multi-generational church, or are we really heavy on one end of the spectrum? Because those kinds of things matter in discipleship.
What did you find about fathers? There are a lot of situations, I guess, where fathers don't go to church. Mm-hmm. It's the mom that's doing this.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's exactly what we saw. And this is something that is kind of a heart check. As a dad of 4 kids, the role of the father is incredibly important. And we saw of the whole sample size, only 39% of the people responded and said, my father was actively attending church. And these are people who were active in the church during their high school years. Only 39% of them said their dad was involved in attending church. And in that number are all of the parental situations that churches deal with, right? Like dad may not be there at all, like you mentioned. Job situation plays into that. Divorce, all of those situations play into that number. But it does reveal to the church that we have a real fathering problem that's influencing kids growing up and staying connected to their faith. And if we can reach dads and teach them how to walk by faith and teach them how to follow Jesus, then that's going to have a profound impact on the other people in the home.
How often do you see, and maybe this isn't something you measured, but how often do you see a situation where the dad's like, you know, it's Sunday and I've worked all week, I'm going to rest. You know, Mom, you take the kids and go. I support that, but I'm going to rest. How often do you see that, and what sort of impact do you think that has?
Well, before serving at Lifeway, I was a student pastor for 13 years, and I can tell you from seeing it up close that happens quite a bit. That dad is either working or dad is, like the situation that you mentioned, taking a break. This is the only day I have to rest and recoup and hit back the work week hard on Monday. And so mom kind of leads the way. It's one of the reasons why Mother's Day is one of the most church attended days of the year, is because mom uses that influence card to get everybody to come along to church with them. And the influence of that, the impact of dad kind of being absent in this spiritual category is huge, because the kids look and say, well, if dad's not in this, if the man of the house isn't involved in this, especially for young men, well, what's the importance of this? Do I, as I grow up and become a man, is this something that's even going to be important to me?
So take a moment and, I guess, speak to the dads out there. You know, what would you say to them? What can you garner from all of this?
Yeah, I would say to dads, almost the same thing I would say to a teenager, a little bit different spin. I would encourage dads to find a spiritual mentor. I would encourage dads to seek out somebody that would walk with them in discipleship, that would meet with them, that would teach them. See, the thing I've come to learn is that I believe parents genuinely want their kids to be people of faith. They especially for this group, this is people who they're active in the church, right? They generally want good things for their children. But it's intimidating. It's intimidating for a mom and dad to say, man, I am the number one spiritual influence in the lives of these kids that are running around in my house. And so taking the step to learn how to follow Jesus and learn how to live a life of faith on their own is a huge step in being that for the children in their house.
And there was another thing you gauged, right? Parents who genuinely like church.
Yeah.
I think that's funny. I don't know. I shouldn't think it's funny, probably. But now, what do you mean by that? How is this measured? What does that mean?
Okay, so again, the sample size was people who said, I actively attended church during my high school years. Well, only 49% of them indicated that their parents actually liked church. So it is kind of humorous. It is and it's not, right? So
right.
We can kind of walk that. But these are a group of people who are saying, I'm involved in the church, but my parents don't like it.
Right.
So even, I think it's a little bit of a check for parents to say, maybe the nonverbals about church and the way that we talk about church, you know, maybe they get in the car on the way home and they have the evaluation session of the sermon or the music or whatever takes place that morning. Well, kids are listening to that and they're walking away saying, we do this all the time and they don't even like it. And of course that creates a division in their mind of what it means to be connected to the church.
It makes sense. I mean, that's obvious. And so that's an important takeaway, I think. All right, we have about a minute left.
Okay.
Overall, what do you want people to take away? How could you get this if you wanted to get it? And what do you want people to take away?
Okay, so you can find it Lifeway stores if you live near a place where there's a Lifeway bookstore. You can also find it online at Amazon and Lifeway.com. So those are places that you could get the book. I think the main thing I would want people to take away, diving further into the research and reading the book, is that the research doesn't call for a wholesale reconstruction of church ministry and youth ministry. The great news is that changing this number is within reach. Hope is within reach, and that's why we titled the book that way. There are small changes and tweaks along the way that church leaders can make to influence the construction and building of lifelong faith in the hearts of people.
I like that. Ben Trueblood, thank you very much, Director of Student Ministry at Lifeway. Thank you for being with us. Thanks to all of you for watching. Have a great day, everybody.